All right, let's look at some Phillies baseball. As they got 2 or 3 over the weekend, they got to 500, but then they sunk back down below 500. Although all things being what they are, this weekend, let's be real, probably was more of a positive for the Phillies than anything, just because of the Spencer Strider injury. Now that's a shame, but man, the division became a lot easier. For more on that and the whole situation with the Phils, some slow out of the gates for certain players like Trey Turner and Castellanos and Rojas. Let's talk to our guy, Jim Salisbury, joining us right now. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Joe. How are you guys
doing?
Good,
buddy. Jim, how you enjoying the start of another? We got to get you on the regular again here, Jim. I mean, let's just start with you, Jim. I need the regular Jim Salisbury articles. What are we looking at?
You never know. You never know. We'll see what happens. But I've been having fun kind of following them from afar, from almost like a fan's perspective.
Good for you. That's great.
Yeah, and you're right. They've gotten off to some slow starts, but as you said, all in all, I think it was as though they're sloppy on the bases, and the defense is far from outstanding, and the offense has been slow. I mean, 4-5 with the way they've started some seasons, I'll take it because it's such a long season, and everything early is so magnified. I mean, if this was the NFL, we would have just had the second half kickoff of game one.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, there's a long, long haul to go.
All right, Jim. Let's. So there's various ways to go here. Let's start. God, I hate starting negative, but let's do it. They are 4-5. In your opinion, which of the negatives so far this year is the most alarming?
It's a good question. The biggest, I'm a little bit concerned about Trey Turner.
I think that's the answer, too. I agree with you because it's the biggest contract of all the negatives. It's the biggest contract and could be the biggest issue for a decade.
Yeah, definitely. A few of those contracts could be really onerous toward the middle and end of their term. That's why I think it's so imperative they win one here in the next year or so. But, with Turner, and he obviously turned it around after his assist from Jack Fritz last year and was, for 8 weeks was like MVP caliber. What concerns me is the strikeouts and the errors. Like, it's on both sides of the ball. If you look when he won his batting title, I think he struck out maybe 15% of the time. Now he's, last year it took a big jump, and I know it's a ridiculously early sample size, ridiculously early, but he's striking out like 30% of the time now. You'd like to see less swing and miss. You'd like to see more contact because, you're going to see a guy who can hit 300 if he does and be the guy everybody thought they were getting, be the guy you saw for about 8 weeks last year. And the defense is a concern. He led all National League shortstops last year in errors. Yeah. He's already got 3 in the first 9 games. And
did we get bamboozled?
I don't know. Jimmy Rollins used to make 5 and 6 errors a year,
and get to a million more balls in the process.
Yeah. So Turner's a concern. I still think he's a hell of a player, and I don't know if he's still getting adjusted or what, but you just would like to see more contact.
Yeah.
And better defense. I mean, there's other areas. I still have concerns about the drop off after Ranger Suarez in the rotation. Though Turnbull acquitted himself nicely, and Sanchez struggled a little bit yesterday. He's been okay. And in general, the offense. I know there's a lot of hand wringing over it. They're going to have funks. It's just the nature of this offense. With some of the chase and some of the swing and miss, but there's going to be nights when they just light it up, and I think they can light it up more often than they struggle, and get where they want to go, get to the postseason, and try to get hot there. So,
Jim, how much longer do we Rojas it? Pache looked pretty solid yesterday, almost came up with a huge catch, but he was in there getting the opportunity yesterday. How much longer do you think Rojas is going to be under the microscope?
Yeah, 9 games I think is a little early for them, though I agree he's under the microscope. I think they probably had in mind a little longer leash than this, but I think they would like to see, he's got 1 hit. he's not a guy you're going to depend on for a larger offensive contribution, not with the 1 through 8 they have. But, they need the 1 through 8 to be more consistent so they can carry him so he's not as glaring. That said, you don't want him to just putter along hitting under 100. So, at some point, I'm sure they're talking about it, but I think they're probably committed to giving him a longer look, 4, 5, or 6 weeks, and we're just, not there yet. But it's something they're going to have to tackle at some point if this continues.
And Jim, you think that even if he continues to play the way he is, which is, I think he's now hit the ball out of the infield only once. He had a fly ball down the right field line this week. He almost got the ball down the right field line on a squib that a guy made a nice defensive play at first. He is as overmatched as any Philly I've ever seen. I mean, if this thing goes on another week like this, I think they got to save him from himself and just say, kid, get to the minor leagues and just go get some base hits. Because, Jim, I don't know that he can do this at the big league level.
And the way he's swinging it, I don't know he's going to get a lot of hits in AAA.
Well, he just might. He might not be any good. I mean, he just might not be good enough.
Well, he struggles with spin. I think he struggles with pitch recognition. And, they asked him to make a ton of adjustments or significant adjustments in spring training. And now, he's not there with them yet. And he's carried them over into the major league schedule. Very difficult to make adjustments, in real time, major league competition, facing this pitching in this city with these expectations. But I don't know if they're there after 9 games. They might be there after 19 games. You might be right. If he gets overmatched for another week and it becomes absolutely glaring. But, they're having daily conversations with this guy. They know where his head is. And that's a major concern as well.
Yeah.
Where's his head? Where's his confidence? So I'm sure they're monitoring this. But I don't know that they're there yet. But I could be wrong. I don't think any of us know what those private conversations are. And, every day is a different chapter in this saga, in the respect that how bad does he look in those 4 at-bats that night?
No question.
Do you see any progress in those 4 at-bats that night? So I think they're probably taking a reading on it almost day to day.
Jim Salisbury here on WIP. Phils, of course, win 2 or 3 over the weekend, but lose yesterday, 4 and 5 out of the gate. Jim, biggest positive that you've seen through the first 9 games, what is it?
Cy Young. Zach Wheeler.
Yeah. He's amazing.
15 strikeouts, 1 walk. I mean, the starting pitching's thrown a lot of strikes. So that's probably my biggest positive, how good he looks, how confident he looks, how absolutely ready he looks, how dominant he's been. So I'd probably say that has been the biggest, positive in that respect.
Jim, how much progress are you seeing in Castellanos' at-bats? He is actually walking more. I saw that he's tied for the team lead in walks, which surprised me. But so he is making an effort to be smarter in his approach.
Doesn't have an extra base hit, though.
What gives with Castellanos and just being right back where we were when we last left off, and he's swinging at everything low and away?
Yeah, one thing I think we know about Castellanos, even before he got here, is he is an incredibly streaky hitter. Obviously, there's chase there because they know they can get him out off the plate. And when he does lay off it, he's going to draw some walks. I think he needs a mistake. Every time it seems he hits a mistake off the wall or over the wall, he goes on a bit of a hot streak. And by mistake, I'm talking about a hanging breaking ball middle in, a backup slider middle in. It just seems like he kills that pitch. He spins on it, he kills it, gets the bat head out, and it unlocks him a little bit. But he's a streaky guy. He finished October on a down swing, and he started. He didn't really hit in spring training either. So I'm just seeing a guy who's feeling for it. He's feeling for that next streak, and sometimes one swing can unlock him, and he has 2 weeks where he puts the team on his back. So. That's what you get with him. Streaky guy, and when he's on, a peak streak, he can really carry you. So that's kind of what they're looking for, and they need that throughout the lineup. They need everybody to come alive. JT's been a positive. I think he's been on the ball really well. That he's kind of limited that leg kick a little bit, and that's helped his timing. He seems to be using the whole field. I mean, Schwarber's using the whole field, but now you just need that entire lineup to come together, because if they don't hit, they're not going to win. They're kind of built around offense. I mean, that was part of their conversations in carrying Rojas. They're built around offense.
No question.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, so they're going to have to hit, and Castellanos is going to have to be a big part of it. He had a very good first half last year. Made the All-Star team, and like I said, he kind of is one of those guys who's always one good swing away from a streak, and then it becomes, how long is the streak going to last?
How likely is it by season's end that Kirkring is our closer?
Well, he's getting closer to being back. You know, he certainly has the ingredients to be a closer with the stuff. By all accounts, he has a little bit of grit, a little bit of gravel in his gut, which I think you need as a closer, because if you don't have the makeup, that job can eat you up, because, you know, you're coming into a ball game with a one-run lead. There's 42,000 people that want to see you convert. There's 28 people in that dugout that want to see you convert, and when you don't, that clubhouse is a funeral parlor. So you really need a lot of mental toughness. I think he's got the ingredients. He's going to need some experience, but, you know, I don't think it's a sure thing. He's a young kid who's only got a handful of days in the big leagues. There's still going to be growing pains. Mm-hmm. Very, very few come and conquer this level immediately. It takes time, I think, to really believe you belong here and can do it here. He might be one of those guys that grabs it right away. But, you know, time will tell, and I think that time could come soon. We could probably see him during the next homestand, but he's certainly got the stuff, and from afar it appears he has the mentality. Now I think he needs the experience. It doesn't happen overnight.
Jim, if Spencer Strider is out for the year, and we don't know that he is, but if he is, and it certainly looks like he might be, do you think that tips the balance of power to the Phillies to win the division?
I don't know if it tips it to win the division, but it certainly weakens your primary opponent for where you want to go. If the division flag is your goal, and it should be. I mean, he's an extraordinary talent. You know, the last 2 seasons he leads the majors in strikeouts, and I think he spent 2 of those months as a reliever. So, you know, he won 20 games last year. The Braves were 26-6 in his starts last year.
Wow.
That's a big number.
Yeah, it is.
So, you know, that's definitely a blow to the Braves, and I hate to see it. I really do, because I love watching him pitch. I think, you know, the sport needs all the elite talent it can get. And
Jim, is he definitely done for this season, or what are they going to try to rehab him and see how it responds? Is he definitely out?
Good luck with rehabbing him. We hear guys do that, and I know the Yankees did it with I forgot who it was, one of the Japanese pitchers a few years ago, and it worked, but it seldom works.
Tanaka. Tanaka is the only one that I ever remember it working. Yep.
Right. You often end up under the knife. I mean, they tried it with Painter last summer to try to rehab, and eventually, you know, my guess is he's going to need to be cut on and have Tommy John, but he is going to be evaluated again. I think Tuesday or Wednesday, from what I read, by Braves in Dallas. I think maybe by the doctor who did his previous Tommy John. So he's having 2 of them. There'll be a second one if he has it. I would say it's headed there. But, you know, they haven't officially determined their course of action yet. When a guy throws that hard and exerts that much strain, it's really hard to rehab that thing. I think you almost have to go in and do the graft. But they'll know more this week. But it's a really big loss for the Braves. It's a great pitcher. You hate to see people get hurt. But the reality of it is, you know, the Braves have to respond. They have to suck it up, and they have to figure out a way to win without him. You know, I remember the Cardinals, and I know we hate that team in 2011,
yeah.
But I remember sitting in spring training in 2011, and news came over that Adam Wainwright was going to be out for the season. And he had won 20 games the year before, and that was a big blow for the Cardinals. Well, they won the World Series.
Sure did.
So you can and that's painful for a lot of reasons.
Sure is. And Jim, the Braves won it in 2019 without Acuna.
2021.
And that's a great example.
2021, my fault. 2021 without Acuna.
Yeah, another great. So, you know, you have to respond, but there's, we'd be naive to say there's not, a little dent in the Braves' formidable armor by, the potential loss of Strider. And it's something that the Phillies, have to capitalize on. They're probably not going to see him 5 more times this year, 4 more times, whatever it is. So it could be something that allows the Phillies capitalize, but they can't look at it that way. They have to just take care of what's in their clubhouse, their pitching staff, their offense. They need to run the bases better. They need to field the ball better, and they need to get that offense going, and they need to continue to get contributions from 4 and 5 in the rotation and the bullpen, but because I really like the top 3 in the rotation.
Jim, great stuff with you as always, my man. We love having you on the show, and we'll certainly have you on, as often as you can this baseball season. Thank you, Jim.
My pleasure, guys. Have a great one.
All right, there he is, the great Jim Salisbury. 215-592-9494. Coming up, more on that Micah Parsons thing. We'll get to that and get you ready for college basketball's men's national championship tonight. Plus, Ruben Amaro weighing in on the pitchers that are getting injured in baseball and his theory of what's going on. We'll get to that and more, all the phone calls as well on this Monday morning. Joe DeCamera and John Ritchie on 94 WIP.